Hello and welcome to a festive seasonal video. It's not really that festive, it's not like it's a Christmassy video, but it's a look back on the year. Basically what I'm going to be looking at is how my reading tastes have changed and what I've learnt about my reading tastes over the year that has been 2020. It's been a mad one, and I have read a lot. At the time of filming this, I am broaching on the edge of reading 100 books, so I hope maybe by the time you're watching this, or certainly by the end of the year, I have reached 100 books, because that will be the most books I have ever read in the space of 1 year. And I feel like that's quite an achievement. So obviously with reading 100 books comes with learning a fair bit about my reading tastes. So I thought I would talk to you guys about what I've learned about my reading tastes and how I think my reading tastes have changed over the past year and what I've really learned and discovered about my reading tastes over that time as well. But before we properly begin, I want to quickly tell you guys about my jumper because I really like it and I can't wear it and not acknowledge where it's from because I know you guys are going to ask and it's very cool. It says on it Rainy Day Reads and then on the back there's a little window with a book in the corner of it and it's really lovely and cozy. I've been wearing it all day since it arrived, but this was sent to me from Illumicrate and it is part of their Illumicrate lifestyle range. It's very, very cool. I'm a fan. I will link it down below if Editing Beth can remember Editing Beth. But now we've addressed the amazing reading jumper, let's address how my reading tastes have changed. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about was one of the things I set out to do at the start of this year, and that was read more translated fiction. Now, the reason I wanted to do this was for several reasons. I am slowly, and I say slowly because I'm not trying to rush it, compiling a master list of translated literature. Some of these will indeed feature on that list. I have read 2 of these books and one of them is on my TBR. These 2 are the ones I've read, The Girl Who Reads on the Metro and also Before the Coffee Gets Cold. And then the one is on my TBR is The Name of the Rose, which I'm really excited to read because it looks like an old-timey mystery, which we know I love. But the reason that I am talking about translated fiction in this section of the video is because I have been trying to explore more of this work, not only for my master list, but also just to read about different cultures and also experience the art of the translator making this work in our own language, which is just amazing. I think when someone's given something in one language and told to replicate the same mood and the feeling, because it's not just a straight swapping of words, you've really got to kind of get the atmosphere that is being taken from that book and put it in this new book. And you're writing another story, essentially. You're not coming up with the ideas fresh, sure, but you're having to translate the meaning and the feeling, which is so impressive, and I am in awe of any translators. So I have generally been trying to read more. I think I've read about 10 translated books this year. Sometimes I read a translated book and I don't realise it's a translated book. I think I did that with The Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George, which I believe is translated from German. I didn't click that until after I read it, until I finished it. And great, it was another one on my master list. So I am really enjoying this. I think the beauty of it as well is obviously it's not a specific genre I'm reading more of, it is just generally fiction that has been translated, so that could be anything. I mean, for example, these 3 books are rather different. These 2 are both more literary, but this one is a mystery. But then even though these are literary, they're so different as well. One's set in Japan, one's set in France as well, so we've obviously got 2 different cultures there. I love it. I love being able to explore more, and this has kind of been a little mission of mine that I've had for a while now. So I'm going to see that through into 2021 as well, but hopefully I will be able to get that list live at some point over the next year or so. Again, it's a slow completion of a list because I don't want to force myself to have to churn through all these books. I just want to read them at a normal pace, but I'll probably add to the list once it's live as well anyway. The second thing I've learned about my reading tastes was a revelation that I felt I knew, but I didn't want to admit. And that is that I prefer adult contemporary to YA contemporary, and I feel like that's probably a natural thing to happen at the point of my life I am at. I am 25. I have been in my 20s for 5 years, obviously, by the fact that I'm 25. And I have not been at school for 7 years? 8 nearly. And I don't really want to read about childhood experiences through YA contemporary as much as I'd rather read a saucy adult romance, because I feel all the YA contemporaries tend to go down a similar-ish route, but also, like, it's great, that's fine, I'm not opposed to reading them. However, there is so much more I can relate to in an adult contemporary, so whilst I do see the merit of YA contemporaries, and I do still own and will still read them, and there's certainly ones that I will gravitate towards, for example, Alice Osman's writing I really enjoy, I do find personally I will relate to the characters and the lifestyles in adult contemporary because normally they're moving out, they're buying homes, they're getting in relationships. I've done one of those things in the past year. They're going on holidays and talking about finances. That makes it sound really boring. They don't just sit and talk about finances, but obviously like there's different worries for these characters that are worries that I can empathise with a little bit more. So you could argue that YA contemporary is a bit more escapism because I don't have to worry about those issues. But honestly, I think I'm just getting a little bit sick of it because I don't really go for contemporary anyway. So it's a rarity for me anyway. But this is contemporary I really, really enjoyed. I read this earlier in the summer and loved it. I read it in about a day or two and now want to read all of Beth O'Leary's other stuff. I've got The Switch by her, and then I think she's got a new book coming out called The Road Trip soon as well. So I have that to look forward to too. And obviously by all of that, I'm not saying that YA contemporary is bad at all. I still like it, but I prefer adult contemporary. Okay, the next one is something I kind of knew already, but now I've just confirmed it. I really, really like thriller mystery books, and I think that this actually possibly might be my favourite genre. I love fantasy, but there is nothing like the feeling of reading these kind of books and getting the goosebump feeling and thinking, yes. Now, there's two different age ranges here in the fact that I've got my YA thriller mystery. Now, I know I've just spoken about YA and the school settings, but I'm finding it's only with contemporary that I'm finding that a little bit more of a drag, because probably because of the romances, and I can't really feel like I can swoon over the teen romances as much as I could an adult one, whereas these are all focused on the mystery a lot more, so I feel like I can get more on board with it. And also YA thrillers, mystery books are so fast-paced that I can just read them really, really fast, which is what I did with both of these. These two are both ones I read this year and absolutely adored, would highly recommend. This is Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson, and this is One of Us Is Next, the sequel to One of Us Is Lying by Karen M. McManus. I've also read The Cousins by her this year and Two Can Keep a Secret, so I've been a Karen McManus fan this year. But these are both really good, and then the other one I was holding up was an adult mystery thriller. This is The Guest List by Claire Foley. I've got her other book, The Hunting Party, and I've also got a new thriller that I've bought called One by One, so I am getting into the adult thrillers as well. Again, there's always going to be things I can empathise a bit more with. Not that it's often common to be able to empathise with the themes in a thriller mystery book, but we can try. So I do prefer reading about characters that are my own age. However, there's just something really fun about the YA thrillers. So yes, these characters are more on my wavelength, except this one was about people getting married, which is not on my wavelength at the moment. Obviously they do both have their own merits. I do find the YA ones faster, not to say that these ones are not fast and super speedy as well. They're both really good fun. I don't really look at an age genre when picking up a book, to be honest. If I like the look of the story and it's a children's book, if it's middle grade type of age, teen, YA, adult, I will read it if I like the look of the story, and that is what my message from this video is, even though I'm saying that I'm going off YA contemporary, but I basically mean that if I like the story, I will give it a go. Okay, next, this has been a year for tackling a series that I have wanted to read for absolutely ages. This is one of my favourite film trilogies. I adore it. And this year, when I decided I wanted to read them, I reached out on Twitter and asked if you guys would like to read them with me, and you all said yes. So thus the Tolkien Along was born, with myself and Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction. And this is the Lord of the Rings books. I am currently in the middle of the Two Towers. Well, I'm not in the middle, I'm right at the end of the Two Towers, but by the time you're watching this, I will have moved on to The Return of the King for December. And do you know what? The thing I've learned about my reading taste is that I like these books. I am really pleased that I like these books, and also I think the main takeaway from it is that whilst they're heavy fantasies, they're so all embracing of every single element of a fantasy, it feels. They've got world building, they've got the magic, they've got the different races and creatures, they've got different languages. It's just so escapist that I absolutely adore it, whereas I think if I read these a couple of years ago, which I did with the first one, I would have found them more daunting. And that is what I did with the first one. I found it daunting, whereas now I'm just finding them amazing. So I am so glad I actually like this series, because I think if I didn't, I would feel like I was lying to myself about loving the whole world, because I just love the Lord of the Rings world so much that I wanted to enjoy the books just as much as I do the films, and I do. So I'm very glad that I was able to read these within the Tolkien Along. Obviously, I haven't finished yet, but nearly there. So thank you guys, if anyone's watching this, has joined along with the Tolkien Along, because it's been great fun. And the final thing I've learned about myself and reading. Now, I already knew I could cry at storylines on TV shows and films really easily. However, I've never really cried at books that easily. I feel they've never quite tugged on my heartstrings. Until this year, when I have cried at many, 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 many books, two of which being House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by Victoria Schwab. Both of these books got me. This one got me real good because of heroics, and I cannot deal with heroics. Even if it's not even sad heroics, I still just cry apparently, because I just find it so emotional and important that it just gets me. So this book, it got me. This book, it got me. This, I found, had a real poignant moment to it of being very real, even though it was a fantasy about an immortal girl, essentially. There was a moment in it that I think everyone that has ever felt anything for anybody can empathise with, and that got me as well. Another book that did make me cry was One True Loves, which really got me because it just hit me at a thing I had experienced, and it just got me right there, and I thought, my heart. So yeah, I've learnt that I can cry at books as well as TV and film, and it's alright to have a good sob, especially when you live alone and there's no one to see you crying. Fun fact is that when I was a small child, not that small because I was watching the Titanic, I must have been about 10 or 11, I was watching it in the mornings when I ate my breakfast, which is stupid. I broke up watching, I didn't watch it in one go. And I got to the end and my mum was in the kitchen and I was watching it sobbing. And I, for some reason, really don't like people seeing me cry, so I just ran to the bathroom and my mum was like, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" I was like, "Nothing, nothing." And then she obviously realised I was crying over Titanic, so fun. So that is a little summary of the kind of things that I have learned about myself over the past year as far as my reading tastes go. Hopefully this was an interesting video. What have you learned about yourself with your reading tastes? I feel like we've had so much time to spend with ourselves this year that there has been so much capacity to learn new things about ourselves. For example, I've learned that I can live on my own as well, but that has nothing to do with reading. It doesn't mean that I've got room for my books. But what I mean is 2020 has been a really, really weird year. And if I can take from it that I learnt these kind of things about my reading taste because I have had more time to be able to just sit and read and really enjoy the worlds I'm reading, I will take that from it because we need to pull out the positives. So that is a massive positive. Obviously, buying a flat is also a positive, but that is a massive positive for me from this very strange year. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm trying to put some kind of end of year-y festive theme into all my videos coming up, so I've tried to write some kind of a video schedule, which is hopefully going to be something I can stick to. I'm really up in the air at the moment because people are doing work on my flat still in my kitchen, and I don't know what days they're here and what days they aren't at the moment, so it's like, when can I film? But hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below what your reading habits have been like this year, what you've changed, what you've learnt. Hopefully you have been able to enjoy most of the books you've read. Obviously we can't enjoy every single book we've read, otherwise that would be the dream, but we just DNF those ones. You can also subscribe to see more of my face on your feed and see what other videos I've got planned for December. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep smiling, stay positive, and a Merry Christmas. It might be a bit early to say that, but we're going to do it anyway because Christmas tree. I forgot to put the lights on this whole video. Oh well, you've had a cozy fireplace in the background. By the way, that is a Netflix fireplace, if anyone is wondering, so there you go. You're welcome.